Austria, neutral since 1955, is now considering joining the NATO alliance. Yes, you heard it right. Foreign Minister Beate Mane Reisinger recently made headlines saying neutrality alone will not protect us. It's a bold departure from decades of constitutional neutrality, but Austria isn't alone. Finland and Sweden, once proudly neutral, are now full NATO members. So, what's happening in Europe? Why are neutral countries rushing towards the alliance that Russia claims threatens peace? And is NATO expansion really making the continent safer? Or are we inching towards another European war? Let's dive in. Since the end of World War II, Austria has been proudly neutral. In exchange for independence in 1955, it pledged not to join any military alliances. That neutrality became part of its national identity, a symbol of peace, sovereignty, and post war recovery. But times have changed. The Russian Ukraine conflict shattered many assumptions in Europe. Austria has watched Russia's aggression from the sidelines, but it hasn't stayed completely neutral. It supported EU sanctions, sent aid, and even participated in NATO peacekeeping through the Partnership for Peace program. Now, the war escalating and Russia threatening more, Austria's government is openly debating NATO's membership. Austria's shift follows a dramatic trend in Europe. Just 2 years ago, Finland and Sweden, longtime neutrals, changed course after decades of non alignment. Why? Because they think Russia's full scale war against Ukraine made it clear neutrality doesn't guarantee security. Finland, which shares a 800-mile border with Russia, joined NATO in 2023. Sweden followed in 2024. These were once unthinkable moves until Ukraine-Russia conflict made them thinkable. Now Austria is next. While there's no parliamentary majority yet, the debate itself signals a turning point. To Russia, NATO's expansion isn't just politics, it's a red line. Since the end of Cold War, NATO has expanded from 16 countries to 32. Russia sees that as a betrayal of a 1990 assurance from Western leaders, not 1 inch eastward. Though never formalized, this promise was part of talks with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev during German reunification. But soon after, countries like Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, and the Baltics all joined NATO. And in 2008, NATO declared that Ukraine and Georgia would also become members someday. That was a step too far for the Kremlin. In 2014, after pro-Western protest ousted Ukraine's president, Russia annexed Crimea. Then in 2022, it launched a full-scale invasion. Russia claims it's defending its security from NATO. Ukraine and the West say it's an unprovoked land grab. The irony? Russia invaded to stop NATO but triggered the biggest expansion of NATO in decades. As now countries that once saw no need for military alliances like Austria are rethinking everything. With NATO now bordering Russia in the Baltic States, Finland and possibly Ukraine, Moscow says it's being encircled. Is NATO poking the bear, or is the bear simply aggressive? Russia's threats are escalating. Its foreign ministry accuses Austria of abandoning neutrality and aiding West's agenda. But Europe is no longer buying the idea that staying neutral keeps you safe. The risk? The more countries join NATO, the higher the chances of direct conflict between Russia and the alliance. One mistake, one misfire, and one provocation could drag all of NATO into war. Despite criticisms, NATO has one major achievement. No member has been attacked since its founding in 1949, but it failed to secure peace in Europe. Article 5 mutual defense has only been invoked once after 9/11. NATO's defenders urge that its expansion isn't about aggression, it's about stability. Former Soviet bloc countries willingly joined. They weren't forced, they wanted protection. But Russia sees NATO as a threat, not a shield. So is NATO preserving peace or provoking war? The answer depends on where you are standing. Austria now stands at a historic crossroads. It could remain neutral or hope for the best, or it could join NATO and signal that neutrality is no longer a shield, it's a risk. The choice will shape not just Austria's future, but Europe's. But every new member added to NATO adds pressure and increases the potential for confrontation. Can Europe build a security structure that includes Russia, or must it prepare to contain it indefinitely? Either way, The old order is gone and a new one is rising under the shadow of war. Austria rethinks neutrality, Russia threatens retaliation, and NATO grows stronger but riskier. What do you think? Is NATO the solution or the spark for the next big war? Thank you for watching.